my lane fast, call it high speed. I've been working hard, yeah, I've been working nightly. If you think you'll win, nah, likely. I be taking shots, yeah, cold-blooded, icy. Watching numbers grow is what I call sightseeing. In the front row, run it up when they hype me. The following grows, they know how to ignite me. Call me CEO, I've been running right, see. And I ain't playing games, I create my own lane, making pleasure out of pain, turning losses into...
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to State of the Steelers. I'm your host, Daniel J. And today we're taking some mailbag questions. Say hello to the early ongoer in the live chat. How's it going, Jared Devil, George Teston? Thank you for being here. And so it's been a while since I've done a live show. I thought I'd, get back into it, get back into the groove. There's been a lot of news coming back and forth amongst the Pittsburgh Steelers, and today I just kind of wanted to take some of y'all's questions, see what you guys have answered for us. And so we have a few questions here. If you're curious as to how to get your question asked on the show on Wednesday or Thursday, typically Wednesday, I'll put out a post in the community tab with the same thumbnail that's on this video. And asking for your mailbag questions, just put your question in the comment section. And so without further ado, let's get into the questions. The first one comes off of Facebook from Rod Irish. It goes, my question is, what's with Danny Smith, our horrible special teams that never gets any focus? Our punting sucks. We haven't had an electric kick return since AB. What is the deal? And so I will agree that special teams to a certain extent has been an issue. I think Boz is probably the most positive aspect of the special team unit as of recent. Sims this year was, in my opinion, somewhat electric. He was able to move the ball down the field, but I get what you're saying. I will say, though, that Diontae Johnson was a special teams Pro Bowler in 2019. And how's it going, Justin? Yeah, I actually covered the Steelers first before going on the Turkey Show. Sorry about that. That caught my attention. Justin Krause goes, saw you talking about Brian Koberger on another channel. Didn't know you were a Steelers fan. Yeah, definitely so. I actually cover the Steelers for State of the Steelers and Behind the Steel Curtain. But I appreciate you recognizing me. Back to what I was saying. So Diontae Johnson was a kick returner Pro Bowler for the Pittsburgh Steelers in 2019. Since then, he took one of the house. I was actually in stadium for that. That was in Arizona. Me and the wife were out there watching the game. We were actually in that end zone that Diontae Johnson ran into for the touchdown. And so he was the last guy. Punting has been an issue for a while. In my opinion, just the kicking game. But even at that, Boz has had some up and down years. He's had a couple of years ago. He struggled. Come to find out, he had a growing injury this year. He had another growing injury, which probably accounts to why he struggled as much as he did. But for the most part, he's pretty rock solid, especially beyond 50. And at at Acrisure, I'm sorry about that, at Acrisure Stadium. And so I get what you're saying. I wouldn't mind maybe a change of the guard there. Danny Smith has been there for a while. But I do think that the Pittsburgh Steelers need to bring in another punter just to kind of give Presley Harvin some competition. And so with that being said, I don't disagree with you. I do think that is a position that needs to be focused. Let's see. We've got a couple questions here. This is from the YouTube comment post. The first one is from 412 Scene. What are your thoughts on drafting Jordan Addison? All right. So there's been a lot of conversation about doing, pairing Pickett back with Jordan Addison. I'm not opposed to it if it happens. I just don't think the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to go in that direction. I don't think that might be the best idea. Diontae Johnson still has 2 years on his contract. He's going to be the one playing the outside solo receiver. Outside solo receiver. I believe it's a Z. And in my opinion, you're going to have him there for a while. Jordan Addison would be replacing him. Having Diontae, you would have to definitely trade him. Diontae Johnson is the most experienced and veteran receiver on the team. And so, getting rid of him and bringing in another rookie that is going to have to take in the load and learn this offense and, may even hinder this offense while he's, developing and learning the offense. I don't think that's the right move. I think the Steelers have a lot more holes than receiver. I think that, it just came out earlier that Diontae Johnson was ranked 5th amongst receivers in the NFL. And so I know he has some drops and some running backwards issues in pretty weighty situations and down towards the end of the season. But yeah, I don't know if I would make that move. I think that, Diontae Johnson can still be that guy. He can still be a guy. I think the problem is that a lot of folks see Diontae Johnson and want to see AB, see that production, see the ability to, tap his toes and bounce on those high pressure moments where he hasn't been able to do so. And, get those touchdowns, demand the defense's attention and still be able to get the ball and make something out of it. That's not his game. He's not AB. The Steelers are trying to kind of force him to be AB by force feeding him the ball. But, with the emergence of George Pickens, Calvin Austin coming back, hopefully he has a healthy year this year and we can actually see what he's, able and capable of doing. I think that it would be I think it would be a miss. Not right now with who the Steelers have. Now, again, if they end up getting some pretty high draft capital for Diontae Johnson, something they can't miss, and they can, maybe a first rounder for him. Maybe they can, do something like that, get a Jordan Addison. But I just think that it might hinder the offense early on in the season just to get him developed to where he needs to be. But, I don't think the Steelers are going that direction. Not that early, but you never know. Great question. The next one is from The Truth Is Out There. On Good Morning Football this morning, they created a band using NFL players. If you were creating a band only using Steelers players, who would be in the band and in what position? Oh man, that's interesting. What do you think? So let's start off with the drummer. Drummer's bringing in the thump, the bass, the heartbeat of the band. So I'm going to go with none other than Cam Hayward on bass, bringing in that boom. I'm going to put in TJ Watt. Now you have usually 2 guitars. So you have a rhythm guitarist. There's usually 5 members in a band. So you have a rhythm guitarist. The guy, I'm going to go with Najee Harris on rhythm. On lead guitar, lead guitarist is usually kind of, he's confident. He's out there, very nonchalant attitude. That's got to be George Pickens. And the singer, I'm going with Kenny Pickett. So that's my band. Who did I say? It was Cam, drummer, TJ Watt for the bass, Najee on rhythm, Pickens on lead guitar, and Kenny Pickett as lead singer, the front man. He's got the hair, he's got the charisma, the swagger. That's my band. Let me know in the comment section if you guys would go see them play. I know I would. Great question. The truth is out there. Steelers fan goes, what's going to be on the menu for draft night? That's the wife, y'all didn't know. We always make a special meal or whatnot for the games and things of that nature. And so last season draft, I was actually traveling to Pittsburgh for the draft party at Acrisure. I won't be doing that this year, I don't think. We got a little one on the way, and so I'll be staying home a little bit more now. But let's see. I would like probably some wings. I think that's going to go down hard with who the Pittsburgh Steelers are picking on the draft. And it's not going to be a pick that we're going to be waiting too long to see. Picking 17, it won't be a late pick, just somewhere in the middle there. Let's go with some wings. Let me know in the comment section what you guys are going to be having for draft night. Let's see. Sound of the Renegade. Love that name. What is the biggest need that the Pittsburgh Steelers need to complete this draft or free agency? Okay. Middle linebacker. I think that the middle linebacker position right now is is a bit of an issue. You have Devin Bush, who's going to possibly be leaving or probably be leaving. Robert Spillane, he's a guy that he's a free agent. He's not a guy that should be an every down linebacker like he has been, for the last quarter of the year. But, being a guy that can be a rotational piece, you have Mark Robinson that's going to be back. He's a guy that is still very raw. In my opinion, he's not going to be a guy that you want out there playing majority of the defense. He's a guy probably you want to limit him, manage him, kind of like the Steelers did, put him in obvious running situations. Don't allow him to be exposed out there by offenses because he's still very raw. He played majority of his collegiate career was at running back. So, switching on the different side of the field, playing middle linebacker, he's a guy that just goes and gets them. But he's very aggressive, and that can be a double-edged sword, so to speak. And so Miles Jack, he's under contract. There's been rumors that he might, be a cap casualty, given that he's, I think, on contract for a little bit over $11 million. Steelers can save all of that but $3 million, so I think they get somewhere around $8 million back if they were to release him. There's been a lot of rumors that, maybe a lot of hopeful wishing by Steelers fan base that the Steelers may be targeting Tremaine Edmonds, brother of Terrell Edmonds, who is currently about to be a free agent from the Buffalo Bills. And they're going through, their cap situation. They have a quarterback that they're going to be paying, or they are paying, who's going to be taking up a significant portion of their salary cap. And so there's going to be some cuts coming out of Buffalo, and there's going to be some guys that aren't going to be retained because of that. Tremaine Edmonds could potentially be one of them. I think that if the Pittsburgh Steelers can maybe restructure Miles Jack's contract, bring in Tremaine Edmonds, I think that would be a fantastic pairing of the two. Have Robert Spillane still coming in because he's still, in my opinion, a guy that you can utilize. He's a guy that can come in certain situations and not be an extreme, obviously, that he's not supposed to be out there with the rest of the team. I think he does do his part. He lacks a little bit in coverage, but his run stopping and his willingness to go into the pile and hit somebody is there. It's not really a high bar, but when you have somebody like Devin Bush, who was playing without a lot of heart towards the end of the season or throughout the season last season, it's or not willing to hit somebody, having a linebacker that is just kind of pops off the screen, but that's not a bar that the Steelers should carry into next season. They need to bring that up a lot higher. They need a difference maker there. Tremaine Edmonds, in my opinion, is a guy that can do that. That's my opinion. I know some folks are going to say up front with the defensive line or even the offensive line. I think there's those possibilities. I think there's some rumors. I think I saw Alex Kozora from Steelers Depot put out that the Steelers might be interested in guard Voorhees out of University of South USC. And so I actually like that. They say that he's an athletic, bigger guy. That's kind of one of the things that I've been saying that the Pittsburgh Steelers were looking for in an interior lineman. And so, I mentioned it before that last offseason, this past one, that the Steelers were giving Kendrick Green an opportunity to still be a starter or still be a person that could have a role on this offense by competing him with Dotson. And the Steelers gave Green every opportunity to take that position. And it's not because they hated Dotson or whatnot. It's just more than the fact that Dotson and James Daniels were kind of the same type of guard. And the Pittsburgh Steelers want a guy up front that is mobile, athletic, and can move and get in front of, get to their position on screens and things of that nature without having to leave early. The problem with Dotson and some of these guys pulling out there and getting upfield a little too early is because they don't have the speed to get to their position in time. So the timing is off. They have to leave earlier. If not, they're not getting to their blocks, and it's blowing up the pass play. The Steelers have always wanted an interior offensive lineman that can move. I think back all the way to Faneca, Marquise Pouncey, and it was supposed to be Kendrick Green next. However, it didn't happen. And so Voorhees from USC, I would like that as a possible 32. Interior linemen usually kind of fall back a little bit. So, and you can get that last name. His last name's pretty awesome in my opinion. So, if they end up going that route in the draft or we start to see that that's the move that they're going to make for that number 32 pick, then I think they really do address the middle linebacker position in free agency. And the next question is from, hey, what's going on, Claude? Nice to see you. The next question is from the Arsenal DB. He is another content creator. He talks about the Pittsburgh Steelers. Make sure you guys go follow him. He's a good guy. He's been on the show. I got to get him back on. Be reaching out to you, man. Let's see. Would you like to see the Steelers trade for Jalen Ramsey or just draft one in the draft? Joey Porter Jr., Christian Gonzalez, Kaylee Ringo, etc. #Steelers. I don't know if I like the trade for Jalen Ramsey because it's going to come down to a couple of different things. Either I think he has a $25 million cap hit this season, and so that's pretty stout. You can go into the draft and hope that you get a Joey Porter Jr. in the first round at 17, or one of these other cornerbacks that you're mentioning. But that's taking a pretty big risk. If these guys are going off the board, then you might end up in a situation like the Steelers were when they drafted Artie Burns. And so you don't want to do that. That's for sure. And but you're looking at a $25 million hit for one player. With that $25 million, you could possibly, sign Tremaine Edmonds, re-sign Larry Ogunjobi for $25 million a year. You might even be able to, forget Larry O. You might be able to bring Hargrave back, with that amount of money and have Tremaine Edmonds. I would personally hope that the Steelers could maybe get one of those cornerbacks in the draft. I think if they don't and they aren't able to, you're falling back on Cam Sutton and Levi Wallace on the outside. Those two guys, in my opinion, are good, solid number 2 cornerbacks. They're not a cornerback one. So it is a big of a risk. But for Jalen Ramsey to come over, I'm not sure I'm liking that. Not for that cost. Now, the other way that the pendulum swings is that, if you're going to get Jalen Ramsey and you're taking his full $25 million cap hit, then you're probably getting him from peanuts, for a 6th round, 5th round, just because of the fact that, you're also taking in, that cap hit. Now, let's just say the Rams decide to pay it, right? That that's part of the negotiations. Then they're going to want a lot in return for that, since, you're either paying the contract or you're paying the trade, one or the other. And so trade value, if the Rams decide to pay, or if that's what ends up being negotiated, and you're looking at, if you get him for pennies on the dollar at that point, you're looking at probably paying upwards to 2 first-rounders for a Jalen Ramsey, maybe even your 17th and 32nd pick. Again, you're taking possibly two players for the price of one, and those 2 players in the draft are supposed to be developmental players. They're supposed to be pivotal players that are going to be a part of this franchise for years to come. For Jalen Ramsey, that's 28 years old, going to be probably 29 by the time the season starts, or during the season next season. I'm not sure. He's still on the positive side of 30, but for one season. And then it doesn't. His contract doesn't really get better. The following season, it's about the same. Now, if you cut him then in 2024, before that season, at the end of 2023, I believe you save, there's only a dead money hit for $11 million. That's a lot of money to still be accounted for. You end up saving like what, 14 million, but you're still losing 11 and not having the player. I don't know if that makes sense. I don't think that's the route I would like the Steelers to go for, is Jalen Ramsey. It's too crazy. Yeah. I traveled quite a far distance to see the Steelers play live. I've traveled them to just to go to the training camp this past season, and then also for the draft party. But um, this upcoming year, I'm probably going to go to just one game in Pittsburgh. The Steelers are going to be playing against Houston in Houston, and that's about 3 hour drive from where I'm at. And so I'll probably be attending that game and have the opportunity of going and coming back and sleeping in my own home and not having to take a few days off. One thing that I will say about the schedule is I really dislike that flexing option that they have for the end of the season. I went to the last game for the Cleveland Browns game, and there was a possibility that game was going to be on Saturday or on Sunday, but it could have been all day, and so I had to be there from Friday to Monday. In reality, or usually, had I known what day or time it was going to be at, I would have left on Saturday and come back probably on Monday. But it extended my stay an extra day, which is an extra day on your rental car, an extra day at the hotel, an extra day of being away from the house and home. Just I really disliked that 18th week schedule being able to be flexed up until the week leading into that game. I thought that was crazy. It was insane. Let's see. Oh, and our last question is from the Drunk Turkey Show. It's probably Jaime or Blue, one of those two guys. We all have access to this. It says, who is the most important current Steeler free agent needed to be re-signed? Let's see. Let's look up the free agents. I'm not even sure who they all are. In my opinion, off the top of my head, I'll say Terrell Edmonds. That's who I'm thinking is probably the most important free agent. But there could be others. Let's look it up. 2023 Steelers free agents. All right, let's see. Miles Boykin is a free agent. Larry Ogunjobi's a free agent. Mason Rudolph, Devin Bush, Cam Sutton. That's a big one. Derek Watt, Jesse Davis, Tyson Alualu, Marcus Allen, Terrell Edmonds. That's the one I'm thinking right now. Robert Spillane, Malik Reed, Chris Wormley, DeMonte Casey. That's a good one. Trent Scott, Carl Joseph, Steven Sims. I think I'd bring him back. Miles Boykin. I think I like what he was able to do on special teams. Mason Rudolph. He's a free agent as well. Jerry Jones, Benny Snell, J.C. Hassenhauer, James Pierre, Zach Gentry. So out of all those, the ones that I would prioritize, I would definitely be with Terrell Edmonds. I'd also be talking to DeMonte Casey. I'd also be talking to Cameron Sutton. Those would be my main focus. My back end guys would probably be Larry Ogunjobi, depending on what he wants. If he's asking for, what he got with, what was it, $40 million over 3 years with Chicago before they ended up terminating the contract due to him failing the physical. If he's asking for something like that, that's like $13 million a year. I'd rather go see if Hardgrave wants to come back for like 15 than pay 13 to Larry O, who's had some injury issues, especially here in recent, the last couple of seasons with the Steelers and with the Bengals. And so he would be a tier 2, in my opinion, of importance to bring back out of this as well. I'm looking at Steven Sims, Miles Boykin as probably tier 2 guys. James Pierre and Gentry as well. Depends on how much Gentry's going to want, actually, because he has made a name for himself as, he's got great size. I think he's like 6'7", 6'8", somewhere around there. Former quarterback in high school, was actually, I think, number 2 quarterback in the nation when he was in high school. So he knows the ins and the outs of the offense and how to read, dissect defenses from a different point of view. He bulked up, got bigger, and got a little bit of a name, maybe an overrated name for being a blocking tight end. But if he acquires a lot of callers, I'm not going to overpay for Zach Gentry. I think you can get a blocking Matt Spade type of tight end in the draft. you have Connor Hayward. We dodged a bullet, and the Steelers dodged a bullet when Pat Freiermuth, his knee injury at the end of the or during the Cleveland Browns game was just a sprain, not requiring any type of surgery. And so I think those two guys are dual threats. They can block. Connor is physical. He's a little bit on the shorter side for a tight end and a little bit undersized. You're not really expecting a 5'11" tight end out there in the NFL, but he's got great hands. He's a former running back as well. He runs well with the ball in his hand. I'm excited about those two guys, but I think you do need a guy that's going to be able to seal the edge when you're trying to, force Najee down the defense. And so, when you get in those big boy setups where you're going to try to punch it in from the 1 foot line or 1 yard line, you need a bigger guy. And so Gentry's probably going to be finding another place unless he just doesn't get any attention whatsoever. JC Hassenhauer, he's probably a 3-tier guy. He's a guy that can play guard. He can play center. He goes back and forth. He's actually, I think, the backup for the center position right now. I think he might be coming back, or you try to get him to come back because Mason Cole, if he were to go down, who are you looking at if JC's not there? Kendrick Green next season, he's still under contract. I don't think Kendrick Green, if he's still performing at the level that he's been performing these last 2 seasons, and what he was able to put on in training camp and preseason the last season, and what he did his rookie season, I don't think he's going to be on the 53 when it comes time for the cuts this upcoming season. So you're going to need a backup center. This season was not normal, for how much time that this offensive line stayed together. Like hardly any injuries. I think one player missed 1 game and another missed 1 snap or something like that. And so that's not typical. And so you usually expect the lineman to go down for a week or 2 at certain points of the season. And so the Steelers need to utilize somebody or keep somebody as a backup center. I'll share this so you can see it. Diontae Casey, like I said, he's a guy that I think I would want to bring back. He's always around the ball hawk type of guy. I would release Ahkello Witherspoon, especially if the Pittsburgh Steelers are able to draft a cornerback one in the first round. I think that's the direction that they need to go. What's going on, Brian? Great seeing you in the live chat. Appreciate you being here. And so, yeah, those are the questions there. I'll take some of y'all's questions if y'all have any here in the live chat. But who's my biggest important free agent to be returned? Yeah, I'm looking at Terrell Edmonds. Not only Terrell Edmonds coming back would be huge because of his performance. I mean, we saw what the Steelers were not able to do or how they looked once he went out with his concussion for a couple of games. Didn't look good. Trey Norwood couldn't fill in. He was a liability over the top. He's the one who allowed the 96-yard touchdown to Gabriel Davis against the Buffalo Bills there. Completely got burnt. It wasn't the first time, he'd gotten burned a couple of times in previous games and was fortunate, especially his rookie season. I think there was another one where he got burnt by Emmanuel Sanders down the middle his rookie season. And Josh Allen just put it too far in front of him. And so I think he's a liability in my opinion. Let's see. Pull this off there. We'll just kind of look at some Steelers news for a little bit before I go. Go to the old Google real quick. Steelers news. So Art Rooney was in the news a couple of times. He had a couple of interviews. They've questioned him about Matt Canada and why he brought him back, and basically stated that they just need to, they brought him back because he grew in comfortableness between him, between Canada and Pickett is there. They didn't want to start all over with a new coordinator with Pickett. And he said they grew as an offense and got better. When they asked what they need to do, he said it pretty flat out and blank was they need to score points, and he's not wrong. If the Pittsburgh Steelers were able to have converted a lot of those field goal attempts or field goals that were made into touchdowns, this team would have been showing significantly better, especially on the backside of the bye week. The backside of the bye week at first, this team was able to move up and down the field. They just couldn't get it into the end zone. That's been kind of the kryptonite of this team. I anticipate this team making a huge step forward this offseason. Kenny Pickett will have a full offseason in training camp as the number one guy. Last season, I know that Pittsburgh Steelers stated that there was a quarterback competition that was going on, but I was at training camp and a lot of folks were, and everybody saw that it really wasn't. It was all of efforts were put in to get Mitch Trubisky ready for week one, which I understand. The Pittsburgh Steelers probably didn't want to play Kenny Pickett, especially as early on as they did. But this season he's going to get all the first team reps. He's going to be able to have a full off season with the guys, get comfortable, build that chemistry, build those reps. And I think that this upcoming year, that this is going to be a well improved team. I truly do. I think this is going to be a team that's going to be competing for the North. Let's see. Got a question from Brian Brown. He says, Daniel J., so the Steelers just re-signed Edmonds, Casey, and Sutton. Should they be okay along with drafting a corner? Okay, in the secondary. I think you kind of have to draft a corner. The only thing that you're missing out of the secondary, if they were able to re-sign Edmonds and Kazi, is that you're missing that CB1 regardless of where you're at. Right now, this defense was able to shut down some passing games there. They got beaten. If we look at past the bye week, I think it's just the Bengals that threw all over them. Outside of that, they really didn't get beat too much in the passing game. Was there some limitations in the scheme that helped them out? Probably so, which is why I think it's going to be a huge miss if the Pittsburgh Steelers end up losing Brian Flores. I think his scheme and he brought a lot of knowledge to the game and allowed this team that really, especially in the secondary as far as cornerbacks go, are a little bit limited. They have a lot of good CB2s. I talked about Cam Sutton. He's not the fastest guy. He's not a guy that's going to be able to shut down one side of the field. Neither is Levi Wallace. He's probably slower than Cam Sutton. Both of those guys, though, are very cerebral cornerbacks that do a lot of film study, a lot of tape, and they're able to make up what they lack in that breakaway speed and coverage ability with the knowledge of the game, and they're able to put themselves in position for advantageous plays. But there are times where you see them where they're getting beat by the Jamar Chase or the AJ Browns of the world. So the Steelers need a CB1. They like to play an aggressive defense where they have that cornerback that can just shut down that one side of the field and allow that the remaining part of the secondary either blitz or cover and blanket the rest of the receivers. So I do think that the Steelers still are going to inquire and need a CB1 this season. They can't get away from it. They can kind of only hide it for so long. Let's see. Is it true that Trubisky is coming back? I don't think he is. I know that Art Rooney came out and he stated that he sees Mr. Trubisky still being in the black and gold. He also said that he saw Bud Dupree, starting and finishing his career, being with the Pittsburgh Steelers long term, and that didn't happen either. And so, while a player is a member of the Pittsburgh Steelers, I don't think that they're going to go out there and say, something negative about that player or that this player is intending on leaving, because that also would make that player look bad. You want to put up a good faith effort there that's saying that, he's here, he's willing to play, he wants to play, because that's what, the other coaches are going to want to hear, that he's not giving up, that even though he's in a predicament or a situation that he didn't think he was going to be, he's not being sour about it. He's not being resentful, things of that nature. And so it still maintains his draft capital. And so I think the Steelers are going to try to trade him. I think that there's good possibility that they could. There are some teams like New Orleans Saints that don't have a first round pick who are in need of a quarterback. They traded away their first round pick for this year for Chris Olave to move up and get him or to do something so that way they can put themselves in position for Chris Olave. And they don't got a first round pick. And, they put a lot of eggs in the basket that is Jameis Winston. It didn't work out. They had Andy Dalton playing a lot this past season. And, we're all familiar with Andy Dalton. We all know who he is and who he isn't. He's just not that guy. Now, I don't think that Mitch Trubisky is a guy either way. However, I think he's a guy that can play better than Andy Dalton. He's a little bit younger, has the pedigree, so to speak, and you can say that he had to deal with Matt Canada, and that could be something that could be seen by the rest of the teams in the NFL as a being put in a bad situation. And so perhaps maybe the Steelers can get a fourth rounder for him, a third rounder, somewhere around that general area. His contract is favorable. It's only $10 million. It's incentive based. It can go up to 14. If the Steelers flat out cut him, they saved $8 million. He's a guy that as soon as the season ended or that game ended against Cleveland and the Steelers found out that they weren't moving forward, he left the stadium fairly quickly. And so, I for one think that the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to have two new quarterbacks at least in the quarterback room this upcoming offseason or this upcoming season. Let's see. Let's see. Brian goes, James Pierre is restricted free agent. Do the Steelers try to retain him at all? He played better. I would think so. I think he does have some potential. He's a guy that is pretty quick, from my understanding. He does have that speed. He plays very smart. He just he's a little bit raw. And I think the Steelers are still trying to develop him. I don't think he's going to gain a lot of attention. And so I think the Steelers could, utilize him and continue to develop him and see if he ends up becoming a guy that could be a cornerback if needed, if there's an injury or something like that. I don't see that James Pierre could ever step into that CB1 category, but he could be a backup there. And if he doesn't get that attention, I believe he's on special teams as well. So the Steelers, love their special teams players. Great question. 1 second. Would you take a 6th rounder for Mitch? Yeah, I would. I'd also make sure that they're taking that $2 million. That's a dead hit to the cap as well, especially if it's for a 6th round. Mitch Trubisky a season ago was high. He was the highest trade value or whatever you want to call it in the quarterback position. He was the most sought out guy. The free agent quarterbacks that are happening, I mean, you have some big names like Lamar Jackson and whatnot, but those aren't expected to be available, right? Out of the available quarterbacks that you have going into this free agency, he's probably still one of the better ones. And so I would assume or think that maybe perhaps he gets some trade value, but I would take a 6 if they are taking up his entire contract. It's kind of like what I spoke about earlier with Jalen Ramsey, how he is owed $25 million, or his hit is $25 million this season. Is you're either going to pay a lot of that salary and give up very little to get him, or the Rams are going to pay a lot of his salary and you're going to give up a lot to get him. And so the same thing would be going for Mitch. If we're giving up a little bit to get him, or we're only getting a little bit in return, like a 6th rounder, well, then that team's going to take up the entire contract, not just the $8 million, in my opinion. But yeah, I would take it if we end up getting $2 million back as well. Claude Bishop goes, Trubisky will be a backup no matter where he goes. Maybe. I mean, you had last season Andy Dalton, and you had Geno Smith starting in this league. So there's a possibility somewhere that he could be starting. They contender Pierre. Yeah, they definitely could. Any pick for Mitch. Is Brissett a free agent? I believe he's expected to hit free agency. Whether that's they cut him or he only had signed to 1 year, I think that may have been the case. But yeah, I think he might be a free agent. The problem with Brissett is in the Steelers uniform is he's not the type of quarterback that the Steelers are looking for. So, like for instance, if the Pittsburgh Steelers still had Ben Roethlisberger as their quarterback, then I would think Brissett would be a better option as a quarterback number 2 because he would play a similar style, big arm, big guy, can kind of move. I mean, he's not going to be to the caliber, of course, of Ben Roethlisberger. If he was, he'd be starting, but it's something similar. It's like a Tyler Huntley to Lamar Jackson. Now, going Brissett and Pickett, Pickett's a little bit quicker. He's got some more designed rollouts, things of that nature to put him light on his feet, move him around, sometimes even run with him. I think you'd be having too different of a game plan if you bring in a Jacoby Brissett versus, for instance, Joshua Dobbs. I think Joshua Dobbs is a guy that is mobile. He's a guy that can move with his feet, put him in a rollout position. He's smart. He's intelligent. He knows the city. He knows the standards and what is expected of Steeler players and things of that nature. So I would love to see Josh Dobbs back. I think he would fit better as a QB number 2 to Pickett than like Jacoby Brissett. Let's see. Brian Brown goes, what are the chances the Steelers use all 3 early picks on defense? Well, that means that things didn't go their way in free agency if that happens. Because, you would be losing a lot of key players. I think the Steelers are probably going to select one offensive player at very minimum. My right now biggest needs are, you have middle linebackers, the biggest need, but I'm hoping that they address that in free agency. Apparently, this isn't the best draft for middle linebackers. So I don't think you go draft middle linebacker. I think you do target Tremaine Edmonds, try to bring him in. The trenches are a big one. Now, the rumors are true that the Steelers are interested in Voorhees out of USC at guard. I think that he might be the guy that the Steelers select at 32. Interior linemen usually go at the back end of the first, top of the second. And so I think if you can get that guy at number 32, that would be a good place. You would get that mobile guard that you've been wanting for a while for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think the first round and the third round, or that second round, I'm sorry. I don't know where they're going yet. I mean, they might go corner. I can see them going corner in the first round. And then that second round at 49. I mean, you might want to go trenches at that point on the defensive side. Get somebody in the middle there. You might go receiver too. But I think you might shy away from receiver until maybe the fourth round. Because you have Calvin Austin coming back, and I think he was meant to be a big part of this offense. I think a lot of this offense was designed for it was designed for Calvin Austin. And you look at the jet sweeps and things of that nature. I think he was designed for him. And this is Voorhees. It's Andrew Voorhees. Yeah, Jason Voorhees. I think a lot of people would be calling him Jason. And I don't disagree with you, Claude, that Brissett is way better than Dobbs. I just don't know how much of your offense has to change from going from Pickett to Brissett versus going Pickett to Dobbs. Well, let's see real quick. This is the guy. He's a big dude, number 72. Yeah, let's see if we can find some of his draft profile real quick. and then I'll let you guys go. All right. He has experience starting at right guard, left tackle, left guard, nearly 3,500 offensive snaps, wide frame with an anchor to absorb and didn't power rush. Wide and powerful base makes him stout obstacle for pass rushers. His quick feet, shuffle steps, remain low to the ground, and pass protection. The All-American guard displays independent hand usage. He has strong understanding of redirecting defenders around the pocket. Voorhees' motor runs hot, and he scans the field for extra work. He'll oscillate to help the center and left tackle on the same play. The 6th-year prospect displays significant speed and mobility to handle pulling duties and properly identifies and eliminates threats as a pulling guard. So that right there tells me that this is definitely a guy that's going to be on the radar for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Just that ability right there. You know, I think that's his ability to pull. His leg drive creates displacement in the run game, and he generates displacement down blocks. Voorhees has a mean streak in the running game, which showed up when he finished multiple defenders to the ground. Whoa, I moved that. Anyways, let's see what his downsides are. They don't have any. Oh, well, they have him at a 4th rounder. So I don't know if he's that late. Maybe so. Maybe that's because of his age. He's up there. 1999. So we'll see. But this guy could be a guy if he goes up. But, you know, from all indications, he's a strong guy. His age might be the reason why they have him as a 4th rounder. Usually you'll see younger. Hey, he shares my birthday. That's pretty cool. I want him there even more now. But that's all I got for you guys today, y'all. I want to thank everybody that is in the live chat. I want to thank everybody that have participated and comment. I appreciate that. Next week, we'll be doing this again, talking about the answering your questions, doing a little Q&A, and also answering the mailbag questions. Again, if you're interested in getting your question answered on the mailbag, just look at the community post Wednesday or Thursday. It's usually in there by then. And we'll do the live show on Friday. Thank you guys. Appreciate all of y'all. With that being said, Daniel J, State of Steelers. Peace.